Well, hang on to your hats and wallets and purses. The Florida Legislature is about to meet. Lawmakers will gather in the House chamber on Tuesday to hear the governor deliver his State of the State address. He's going to say it's very good. And then they will start on 60 days of hearings, debates, and votes. At stake are the taxes you pay and the services you receive. It is a very big deal, although the machinations of these lawmakers often are too arcane for most people to understand, but not for the people who watch this program. So let's talk about the session to come here with two of South Florida's best. Jason Pizzo, state senator from Northeast Miami-Dade. Jason, good morning. He is a former prosecutor. Tom Fabricio is a Republican elected to the State House of Representatives from District 103. That includes parts of Doral, Medley, Miami Lakes, Hialeah, Miramar, and Palm Springs North. Tom, great to see you again.
Good morning, Michael, and Hialeah Gardens.
And Hialeah Gardens. Let's not forget Hialeah Gardens. All right, let me ask you both, as you well know, since you've served for a couple of terms, a few issues dominate every legislative session. And Jason, what are they going to be this time? Redistricting and what else?
They're going to be redistricting sort of selfishly for legislators as well, for the general public. But, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't include whatever is sort of on the agenda of the governor. That's been the theme of the past few sessions. Whatever the hot button topic is that my Republican colleagues sort of have to carry the buckets for.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tom Fabricio, you do have to carry some water for the governor. What are your issues that you hope to address in the session?
Well, we filed quite a few bills in for my district in particular. The first and the most important bill for my district in particular that I filed it last session. I'm filing it again. This session has to do with blasting. That's there's ground vibration issues in Southwest Broward and Northwest Miami-Dade County, and we're looking to reduce the ground vibrations for the communities, for where there are residential communities within 1 mile of those mines. That's the most important issue for my district.
Yeah. Can I just interrupt to say,
sure.
Channel 10 gets calls every day from people who live in these affected areas saying our house is shaking. There are cracks in our walls. I mean, this has just gone on for years, and yet I don't know what's been done to really stop it.
Well, I worked hard last year to bring awareness of the issue here in Tallahassee, and I've been doing the same this session. I refined the bill to limit it in scope because as we all know, the aggregate and concrete industry is very important in the state of Florida. It has to do with cost of construction, and that's important, and we don't want to cause trouble for that, and we certainly don't want to take away anybody's jobs. But where these mines are situated within 1 mile of residential areas, specifically the Riviera Isles community or the Palm Springs North community and West Miami Lakes communities are very close, and sometimes just directly over I-75. Those houses shake quite a bit. My house is a couple of miles away, and my house shakes quite a bit, especially this last week. So that's one of our important issues. But I've also filed a telehealth bill. We filed it last year. It passed the House. It didn't pass the Senate, unfortunately. It's a critically important bill because it allows access to medical care for folks. I originally filed it in mind of folks like my grandmother before she passed away in her elder years. She had a hard time getting around to different doctor's appointments for tweaking of medications.
Yeah. Well, if I can jump in and simply say the issues you have mentioned are sort of the bread and butter issues that people are concerned about. I'm sure Jason Pizzo would agree. I mean, people are worried about the schools, crime, health, insurance, taxes, and that's essentially what you're talking about. But Jason, to go back to your earlier point, the governor is really engaged in the culture wars here, talking about things like a state militia that would report to him. I mean, is that something we really need?
No, and I asked, my kids are likely laying in bed on a lazy Sunday right now watching this, and we leave our families and come up here to do our best for our constituents. I'm nodding my head while Tom's talking about his issues that are important to his constituents, like they are to the 15 cities that I represent, whether it's environmental, infrastructure, the kids killing kids in Liberty City and Overtown in my district. What are we doing about that? My first term here, we dealt with immigration on something that was already sort of in law. We were just codifying it for what we call red meat at this point. Last year, we spent a whole day on transgender athletes. There were 11 of them over 6 years, but we didn't do anything as it relates to unemployment, even though I was away from home all but 41 days in 2020 working on unemployment. This year, they'll spring up something about abortion, something about being woke, something about, a whole smattering of things, Michael, that don't improve your life, don't increase the safety of our children, and certainly do nothing for the quality of life or for actual small businesses and protection, things like that. The things we're supposed to be doing. We don't do those. We don't do those.
Well, you do them after the governor's other issues often, and it's both, Democrats as well as Republicans drive these agenda. But, Tom Fabricio, Jason just mentioned, this woke issue. The governor has been very outspoken. He doesn't like sensitivity training where people come in, talk about racial, ethnic differences, how to get along with people. He really says that that's all part of the CRT, critical race theory kind of issue. What's your opinion?
My view with critical race theory is, we haven't had a need to deal with that in schools historically. I don't see why that has to come in to the curriculum now. My constituents are generally against it. The constituents that have reached out to me are against it. But I got to tell you, important issues for my community also include a condo fraud bill, HB 811, that I filed. And I filed it with regard to condominium issues. And I've just been going through my emails while I've been waiting here this morning. And I'm getting a huge number of folks who believe that condo fraud task force that we're looking to create should expand also to homeowners association. And these are bills, we're doing a lot. There is a lot of national rhetoric and a lot of political back and forth, which is important. It's unequivocally important because we are divided in many ways, unfortunately. But we're sent up here to do the people's work, and we are doing the people's work in many ways. And I think the condo fraud bill that I've filed, that I hope it's got a strong Senate partner, and I expect that it's going to move along through the committee process as well as my blasting and telehealth bill. Another bill that's critically important that I filed has to do with giving police officers portal-to-portal insurance coverage. So when they drive their police cars from home into the police station and back and forth, they're provided auto insurance coverage by the actual agency so that they don't have to put out of pocket for their own auto insurance policy to cover that.
I had no idea they weren't covered. All right, gentlemen, hold on. We're going to come back. More questions about you and about the legislative session in just a minute. On This Week in South Florida, we are previewing the upcoming session of the Florida Legislature. It starts on Tuesday with Representative Tom Fabricio and State Senator Jason Pizzo. Jason, I don't think that Surfside is in your district, but it's just below your district. In fact, if it's not in your district.
No, Michael, it's in my district, and I was there every single day but one.
All right, I remember. I remember seeing you there. So the question then becomes, what should the legislature do about condominiums?
We propose a number of ideas. We need to shorten, obviously, the recertification process. We need to consider buildings in the place of where they're found. So something that's coastal with a high water table that's subject to corrosive elements, I think should be aged in dog years. But condos is a perfect example of the critical importance of not having pride of authorship. Because we're in a Republican majority, I won't be the one that carries condo bills. I filed condo bills, but Republicans don't let Democrats get wins. And so you have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and let other people. So Tom Fabricio, who I respect, is carrying a condo fraud task bill 811, the counterpart's 266 in the Senate with Anna Marie Rodriguez. They're not in condo heavy districts. 64% of my district are condos. Those are my constituents. So a friend of mine, a colleague, Senator Jen Bradley, very competent, very smart, chair of community affairs. She's going to be carrying the condo bill that Jason Pizzo should have, being in a condo heavy district. Her leading bill last year was on farm equipment. There are no condos in her district, but that's the way it is. It's partisan. Last year, you remember the Setner Academy in my district wanted to fire teachers who got vaccinated. And one math teacher told the fifth graders, don't hug your parents if they've been vaccinated. Absolute quackery. I couldn't get my amendment passed to prohibit that. But the following session, this past session, it was slipped into the bill, Section 7 that no one paid attention to except for me. So if you don't have pride of authorship here, you can get a lot done. But we're in a hyper-partisan, hyper-polarized situation. So if the life and safety issues that involve your family and my family and our constituents are better served by someone else carrying the bill, so be it. That's where we are.
All right. So your name may not be on it, but you've got your fingerprints on it. That's maybe just as important. Tom Fabricio, we have all followed, and we in the media certainly have followed fervently, whatever the governor has said about COVID-19. And on Thursday of this week, he said, and the director of the Department of Emergency Management in Florida said, well, we had 1 million test kits in a warehouse and nobody asked for them, so they expired and we had to throw them away. I mean, frankly, that strikes me as a terrible waste of test kits which are in high demand. What do you think?
Well, I got to tell you, I don't have the details on that. If you had told me about that specific issue ahead of time, I would have prepared and gotten some information on it. I presume that the kits that expired were not requested, and they have a shelf life, and that shelf life expired.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. But what I can tell you is, I had a briefing on Monday at Broward General, and I spoke just shortly before this interview now with Broward General CEO as far as what's really going on in Broward County with regard to the COVID and the Omicron numbers. And we see that Broward General, throughout that system, that's not only the Broward General Hospital in Fort Lauderdale, but that's throughout the entire system. They have 258 patients currently, and they have 9 pediatric patients. And again, that's across the system overall. Not many of those are in the ICU. It's the vast majority of those are not in the ICU. And what they're finding is that about 86% of those patients that are hospitalized are unvaccinated. So,
Michael, if I may.
Yeah, jump in, Jason.
Yeah, let me jump in. The metric should not be and is no longer how many people are on ICU beds. Okay, it's the economy, stupid. Let's be very clear. I've had flights canceled this week. We have businesses that are woefully understaffed. It is the economy, and I find myself in this weird twilight zone of a feeling because of the past couple sessions. We have a governor that wants to create a Florida OSHA, create a Florida militia, ask for $5 million during special session with no earmarks, deadlines, or benchmarks or any kind of metric to determine the efficacy of the request. This is a guy who ran on deregulating things, and we're creating regulatory agencies. We're letting things expire. He waited till literally the midnight hour during COVID last year on eviction moratoriums. The guy doesn't get economics. He just doesn't get finance. He doesn't understand time value of money.
Gentlemen, I know you both have a lot. I know you both have a lot more to say.
The governor doesn't understand economics. The fact is that
Tom, I'm going to have to interrupt you. Jason, I'm going to have to say,
the economy in
thanks
Florida
very
is
much.
stronger than any
We'll
of
see
the
you
other
another
states.
Sunday.